Badass Attitudes, licensed here, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Turn up your energy with Fruitful Friday. Here's Kelly Orchard. Certifying badasses, one podcast at a time.
Hey everybody, it's Friday, and I've been through my share of stuff. I think I described it as, life turned sideways, and I actually was buckled in. So, when life turned sideways, I went with it, which, I practiced my badass tools, and so being buckled in meant I was kind of ready to turn sideways. Not that we expected this, right? So I didn't really expect the things that have occurred, and I've had to make some significant life decisions and pivots in both my business and my personal life. But I'm here, and I'm okay, and I'm a case study for the badass tools, and I wanted just to get on today, even though I know the world is still absolutely, completely going nuts. How are you? I wanted to kind of check in with you about how your moods are. We're still experiencing a lot of psychological impact from this being locked down. The depression and the anxiety. In the beginning, I noticed from my clients that it's like, hey, this is all right. I can deal with this. This is I'm uniquely qualified to hang out at home and not worry about life outside of my house. But now here it is. It's been and it's making you crazy. And so, and I do say crazy in a loving, kind way, because you know how that is, but we all want to get out and go do something different. And I'm just here today to talk to you about how are your moods? Are you being mindful of the mood and the mindset that you are experiencing? When we're depressed, it can cause us to, a lot of people think depression is something that you can just think your way out of, and not necessarily, especially if you don't really know that what's going on is symptoms of depression. And depression can manifest itself in many different kinds of behaviors. So yeah, if you're eating a lot, if you're sleeping too much, or sleeping not enough, or eating not enough, or if you're not getting any exercise and you don't feel motivated and you just are lethargic all day long, it could be that you're struggling with some depression. And yeah, I know, it's really hard to tell you just to get out there and go make life happen when life's not happening yet. I've been coming up with really unique and different ways to try to help my clients, but I can only really share what's working for me right now, just for full disclosure and also for their privacy, right? So yes, I do use music a lot to help me with my mindset, and some of the tools that I have been implementing that's helping me get through this time is, first thing in the morning, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to take a walk. Even though it may not be the hardcore exercise that we think that we're going after, I turn on my badass soundtrack. Yes, I do. Not every morning though, and I'm going to explain that to you in a second, but I do listen to my music that I have designed specifically for my moods, my mindset, what I need at the moment. And I've just created this little unique soundtrack that's all mine. But not every day do I need my badass soundtrack. That's for a certain purpose, when I need certain things, certain moods, certain confidence, or certain memories to be stirred up. Nostalgia is a really good mood booster. So some of the other music that I've been listening to is like, I have a pretty extensive playlist. So it's what happened. I'm a terrestrial radio girl. I tell people this all the time. I don't pay for streaming music when radio is free and it's on the air and it's over the airwaves. Okay, so I don't pay for streaming radio. I'm a terrestrial radio girl, but I do have a very extensive music playlist in my computer. I own a lot of music, and so I've just creating my own music playlist. And so one of them is I have Kelly's favorite 80s tunes, and I wanted to share this with you because this is a little bit of nostalgia, but a little bit of funny to me. Okay, so as maybe you know, maybe you don't know, but one of the things that have occurred with just making this shift is I'm moving my parents down here to Temecula with me. And all is okay. They're just aging, and it's just time. And there's been a few other things, but anyway, so yes, we're closing up their house, and we're packing things, and we're going through things, and there's a lot of memories and everything stored up there, and it's bittersweet, and it's turning up a lot of our history and a little bit of grief. I've lost two brothers, so here I have my mom, my parents, keeping mementos from my brothers, and we have to kind of make decisions about what to do with those, and and just there's just and this my dad's long career in broadcasting. It's 65 years in radio, and we're discovering all sorts of stuff. And so I'm saving these things. So some of you may be wondering, why is Kelly posting all these old radio stuff days? It's because my radio friends are liking it, are appreciating it. And my dad and I, we're the whole family, we're just having a kick over some of these things. But one of the things I discovered while we're looking for the nostalgia is this CD, Best of the 80s. Okay, now, pretty cliche. Okay, so here's what I can say. I was a teenager in the 80s, and the beads that we wore were much bigger and thicker, and I don't know. There's nothing about this really says 80s. It says wannabe. So, but then I look at the back of this and the songs, and I'm like, okay, who produced this music? It's some group named Sonoma, so it's not a major record label. And I'm looking at this, and there's 20 songs, best of the 80s. I was in radio in the 80s. Okay, best of the 80s. And I can guarantee you there's 20 songs on this list. And I'm like, best? No, not by a long shot. I'm sorry. Tiffany? Okay. The Motels, yeah, okay. I'll give them that. Okay, Kool and the Gang, Celebration, pretty cool song. Take Me Home Tonight, Eddie Money. Foolish Beat from Debbie Gibson, seriously? Best of the 80s? Okay, if you're Bubblegum. But then why would Todd Rundgren be there? Okay, okay, Ambrosia, you're the only woman, or only the lonely, the Motels. I'm like, please, this is not the best of the 80s. I know a lot of programming people, and I don't know who the heck put this thing together, but it was for a teenage girl, and I don't know why. Okay, here's the other, why was this in my mom and dad stuff? I don't know, but I found some air checks of some radio shows. I found some old pictures. It's like my dad and I have been doing FCC compliance work for 20 years, and so a lot of pictures of radio and television stations that we've been documenting. And so there's just a lot of nostalgia being brought up. And, even though some of the memories are bittersweet and there may be some grief in there, there's also a lot of joy and a lot of laughter. And it's like, and I wanted to encourage you, it's like, if you have this moment, if you've got home movies that you haven't watched in a while, or old photographs, like photo albums that you haven't even dug up for a little bit, if you're looking for something different to do to pull you out of a melancholy or sad, or it's like, let's get this over with kind of mindset, nostalgia is a really good mood booster. I recently wrote an article for some of my broadcasting friends with the National Association of Broadcasters, and then I posted it in some of the Facebook groups that I'm involved in because they're fun and it's nostalgic. We're talking about old radio days and showing old pictures of radio heyday. We say heyday like radio's dead. It's not dead. Radio is alive and well. They just need to rethink things. So it's like, hello, here I am. But I have some really fun things and great things going on too. So I want to just encourage you today on this Friday. We have to improvise. And yes, although it's sad that we don't have some of the traditions, it's okay to create new traditions. That's one of the things I've discovered and learned about, in grief counseling is when you can't have the old tradition and you're sad about it, you can create something new out of it. So we can all grow out of it. So I hope that what you're going to practice during this is a little bit of mindfulness and improve your mindset with some music, especially when you consider it oldies and you go back into some of the best times of your life and you stir up some nostalgia. It's like, I know they say don't live in the past, and that's not what I'm encouraging here, but what I am encouraging is for you, when you stir up those happy, warm memories and you're listening to music, you're changing the brain chemistry, okay? You're stirring up, you're triggering the hypothalamus, which is the organ that regulates your hormones. So the music and the mindset, and maybe you'll be dancing a little bit, or the fun, warm, fuzzy feelings is increasing the dopamine and the serotonin levels, which is causing you to feel better. Okay, so it's not woo-woo, it's scientific, but you don't have to think about it if you just do it, okay? So it's kind of like bacon. You don't really have to care why the flour and the eggs and the sugar all work together. Just know that they do, and bake the cake. I just want you to know that the music and the nostalgia is going to help you feel better. Just know that it does. So drag out some home movies or some old photo albums or some old music and have a party this weekend, okay? And when you do, remember,
a growing attitude changes when it encounters courage. It becomes badass. Fruitful Fridays with Kelly Orchard's Apple a Day and Weekend Vibes.
So one of the things I wanted to share was, and I'm looking for my notes, that attitude is everything, and you need a positive one in order to succeed and unleash or unlock your badass self. So practice positive psychology. When I finished graduate school training in psychology, I had to complete the more than 3,000 hours in the field of behavioral health as an intern. So remember I told you for a short period of time I worked at a hospice agency as their bereavement coordinator. Well, I didn't want to be just the grief girl, and I knew that in order to pass my licensing exam, I would have to have another experience. So I left there and I went to work for another organization that was treating late life depression. And it was actually a County of Riverside program with the Department of Mental Health, and it was through Catholic Charities, and I had to go do home visits. And so I was doing home visits, and I was doing one thing at a senior center. So one of the things was that this was the program for late life depression. It was for seniors suffering from depression, and the job also had a marketing component. And I found that my ability to research and find resources and conduct outreach from my years of radio really helped me to create and develop programs to increase awareness and engagement with this low-income senior population. So when I created the program for the community of seniors, it evolved out of a need to improve their lives. They basically, I went to the senior center, and there's a lot of depressed people there, but they don't want to admit they are depressed. But what happens was I offered a depression support group, and they lovingly named it the Blues Club. Now, I kept them engaged. Now, what do you go to a senior center for, right? It's like, so imagine what you go to any kind of activity for. You go to find some fun, to be engaged, to meet new friends, play games, go on outings, and they wanted to get out of their homes and find helpful resources to stay active and healthy. But there was a glaring problem. Everybody was so negative and depressed. So they'd sit around and talk about their aches and their pains and how the economy was so bad and the rising cost of healthcare, among other things. Does this sound familiar? Like what might be going on with you and your friends right now? You're all talking about all of the bad stuff. And it's understandable, obviously. But what happens is the negativity causes more negativity. And then you go in this downward spiral and you don't see a way out. Okay? So negativity increases more negativity. So my job is to give you some tools to promote positivity. Okay? So that's how I want to encourage you today, is to increase your positivity. Now, one of the things that I did, now this is part of my badass certification class. So we talk about, I printed this because I don't want to explain to you. Can you grab a piece of paper? Oh, wait. Just get a piece of paper. You're gonna write on you're gonna do some homework right now. Okay? Or you're at least draw it out. Okay? So grab a piece of paper and a pen. These are your 4 domains. I'm going to try to get this. 4 domains in life. You see this box here? Okay, so draw a box and a square. Okay, so you have 4 domains in your life. Your work life, your home life, your community, and your private life. I'm going to leave that there for a minute. Now, right now, doesn't that seem like, well, that's everything at home right now. So we can put everything at home. So as you can see, we're not very balanced, are we? We are not balanced. So what we want to do with this, okay, so I want you to focus on the positive things that are going on in those 4 areas. So is there something positive going on with your work right now? Okay, I can only use my examples, okay? So I don't know what yours are. So I'm going to try to give you some tips or some hints. So like work life. So I am very grateful that I still can work. And I'm very, you have no idea how thankful I am that I get to help people. I get to help people get through this. And so some of the things that my clients talk about is, tell me about if you feel this way too. Restless, overwhelmed, anxious, bored, having relational conflicts. You're stir crazy. You're in survival mode. You got too much time to think, and your dreams are canceled. Yep. So your work life. Okay, so what's going on good with your work right now? If you're not working, can you do something to earn some money? Is there something that you can be doing? Or maybe think about changing a career. You know, that's what I did. When there was nothing I could do, it's like, believe me, it's like I could have gone back out to sell radio advertising. Now, when all this stuff went on in 2008, stock market crash, radio died. And well, everybody's business died, and selling radio time was not in the cards for me. I couldn't be involved in that kind of stress. But I did see a couple of posts of some people who are taking this opportunity to make a career change. In fact, my son's girlfriend is one of them. She's started school, and fortunately the school has offered online trainings. So maybe there's something you can do with your work. I want you to focus on the positive, though. What's going well? Are you still making money? Are you navigating a new way of conducting business? Okay. All right. Home life. Well, it's all home life, isn't it? but okay, but we have to kind of focus on setting some boundaries, okay? So that's going to be in your private life area maybe, or your home. This is subjective, okay? There's no tried and true rules here. But you do have these 4 domains in life, and I want you to focus on the positive. So what's going well at home right now? I can say my son cooks almost every night. I can also say what's going well is I've got my parents here. I get to see them every day, and that's rare that I get to see them as often as I do now. Other things that are going on well at home, I get to do this. I get to do this right at home. I didn't have to adjust or do anything. So you see what I mean? So home life, community. All right, now community it doesn't necessarily mean be out in the community. Now, since I'm doing this with the Chamber of Commerce, you might be thinking of, your community engagement, the business community. So let's just go with that. But when I'm talking about that with personal, your personal life, your community also includes, your friends and your social circles. So I know we are all isolated. So what's going well, though? Are you connecting with your friends and family members? Are you doing video chats? Are you doing things to stay involved somehow? If you are, write those things down, okay? The things that you are doing, the things that are still going well. Hey, are your friends checking up on you? Are you checking up on your friends? Are you staying connected with your small group of people? Are you, it's like I see that, like my Rotary Club, they're having meetings every Monday, and they're doing things, and I haven't joined in because frankly, okay, like you, it's like I haven't really wanted to put on makeup. So that's why I said you're welcome, because I did for you. I put on some makeup for you. But things like that. So that's your community. And then your private life. Okay. Now it's going to be a little bit different, because if you're in a household with a bunch of people and you don't have time alone, you're going to start to feel a little closed in. So I want to encourage you to spend some time alone with your thoughts, but with the positive ones. Hey, maybe with that journal, maybe with a new morning routine. Maybe you could do something to keep yourself motivated and happy and tapping into some of this positive psychology stuff, okay? Because the thing is that I know it's like, these can seem like just exercises to you. And sometimes my clients are like, oh, that's not going to work for me. And guess what? When they say that, you know what I say to them? You're right. It's not going to work for you, because you're already going into it with the concept that it's not going to work. So try it out. I am committed. I'm going to do the Badass certification class totally free. It's fun. I have to do it in a Zoom room because I do play music, and I'm not good. So Facebook will shut me down. I have talked to attorneys about that, though, by the way. I do my homework. I talked to a music licensing attorney who does FCC compliance work, so I'm connected, and one for myself for a licensed marriage and family therapist. And I'm playing only 30 seconds of a song, so I'm using it for educational purposes. But I'm going to play some tunes for you, and I'm going to show you how to create your badass soundtrack, and I don't want you to pay for it. And I even have some badass ID cards somewhere, and I'll send them to you when you finish the class. That's what I want to do. So the first thing is I'm going to give you a free copy of my book, Heart Lessons. And the purpose is this is not for me for self-promotion, but I've been through a crisis that derailed my entire life and caused me to stay home and not go anywhere. And I lost my job, and I lost my house, and I lost my whole world. I just want to share with you that the comeback is bigger than the setback, but you got to do the work. Okay? You have to be willing to do something. You have to act. And that's what happens with positivity. Okay? Because right now, if we're spiraling into the downward spiral of all of the bad news, of all of the bad things that are happening, you're never going to see a way out. So practicing gratitude is the first step. Now, I created the Badass soundtrack to counteract with the gratitude. It's the same brain chemistry. It's the same dopamine and serotonin levels, right? So you could do it with gratitude. So that's what I want you to start with until I teach you how to do your badass soundtrack. Because I got my badass soundtrack on my phone, and I go out for walks and I listen to it. And you know what? Even before I did this video today, I listen to my tunes to get myself in the right frame of mind. A lot of people know that sometimes you do like a workout mix or a party mix or whatever. Well, I'm a radio person. So I've grown up in radio. Look at my little sign back here. What does that say? Music is the soundtrack of our lives. That was a Casey Kasem slogan back in the, I don't know, 70s or 80s or 60s, or I don't even know. That's shows you how old I am. But music is a soundtrack of our lives. And I grew up in and around radio stations and in and around music. And my brothers are musicians, and I was influenced by a lot of music. So this was actually a journey for me to discover or to create the Badass soundtrack when I was doing some grief work, and it showed me that my mood was improving, and I was tapping into warm and happy memories of things that made me feel good and built my confidence, made me stand up for myself. Happy memory, a summer of my, of my 16th year, that rite of passage that, so I'm going to teach you how to do that. And I hope that you'll come.
All right there, Badass. Thank you so much for joining me for this Fruitful Friday. Thanks so much for joining me. So today we covered, quite a few things. We talked about nostalgia and how it's a mood booster, and it's not just kind of woo-woo. There's a science to it. We also talked a little bit about the Blues Club and how that works, and I encourage you to kind of drag out some old photos, some home movies, and have a party this weekend. And then you learned more about the Badass soundtrack. And of course, just click the link in the comments, and take my Badass certification class for free. I mean, who doesn't want to be a certified badass? All right. You guys have a great day. See you later.
Hop on the bus to Badassville. Monday, again, we turn up the energy. Tune in and tune up.
Thanks for listening and getting one step closer to being licensed to be badass. Be sure to subscribe to continue on the bus to Badassville. Snag your Badass Habits ebook at licensedtobebadass.com. You can stay in the slow lane and get just enough tools for successful badassery, one podcast at a time. Or you can join the Badass Ambassador crew in the fast lane by checking your baggage with my Licensed to be Badass integrated program with videos, worksheets, and group coaching for motivation, mindset, and a fresh approach to living a fruitfully badass life.